Welcome to the Trinity-Free Football Talk. I'm Zach Cavanagh.
I'm Michael Huntley.
And we're here to talk about everything that's not the Trinity League. It's not the South Coast League.
No.
It's certainly not San Clemente football.
No.
It's certainly not anything top 10, really. It's nothing against those teams. We love you, Jaime Ortiz.
Sorry,
we both love your sandwiches. Michael, first off, we will give San Clemente one thing. Michael, your review of the San Clemente tri-tip sandwich.
It was delicious. Barbecue sauce was a little cold. It was halftime, so I understand. But it was very, very delicious. You can tell by my stomach.
Yeah, basically, when it comes to county high school foods, aside from your hot dogs and stuff, if you do get to a San Clemente game, get yourself a tri-tip sandwich. Check it out. We recommend it. Yeah. Trinity-Free, football approved. But we got plenty of other things to talk about. A crazy slew of upsets in some of the smaller leagues around the county. We got to start off first. Probably the most surprising to both of us and to many out there was Cypress defeating Pacifica. Alex Ashcraft had 6 touchdown passes in that game. Isaac Hurtado controlled the game on the ground. But this is just something, especially with the way that Cypress beat Pacifica in such a large fashion, something that we couldn't see coming.
Somebody on the show wrote off Cypress last week.
Somebody in particular.
Got a lot of flack about it, somebody. And I'm surprised. Pacifica's been dominant all year. Mm-hmm. They played some solid teams too. 3 turnovers ended up being huge in that game. But Cypress, look out for them. That whole league's kind of in flux now.
Yeah, with Pacifica going down, they were the highest ranked of the teams. Tustin's the only undefeated left there out of that league. And they play Valencia this week, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But that's a game that's huge in terms of the implications because Valencia's beaten Cypress. Cypress is now beating Pacifica.
It's a big mess.
Right. It's kind of all intertwined because Tustin still has to play Pacifica later. A lot to be determined, but just an incredible result. And it didn't just surprise you and I. It surprised Dan. It surprised Steve. It surprised pretty much everybody in the county community.
And Coach Feldman, too.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get, but that was an impressive effort by the Centurions. Got to give them some credit there. Kind of counted them for dead, but here we are. Moving on to the Golden West League, another big, I don't know if it's an upset because Westminster did beat Orange last year. Westminster does it again. A great performance on the ground by Christian Jaime, 257 total yards with 3 touchdowns, including a late game winner. This is one that Orange kind of let slip away from them. Orange has had their troubles, but they've still been able to win. You've seen them this year. What do you make out of this result?
Orange is very confident. They're probably kind of shell-shocked. They lost to Westminster. Thought they were going to have this one in the bag. Wilkinson played pretty well. His numbers were pretty good. Jordan Schmidt had a good game receiving, but I'm assuming late game penalties played a factor in that game too. Christian Jaime on the ground, great.
Yeah.
So anyone in that league can kind of win there.
Yeah, when we went into the Golden West League, it looked very wide open with all these teams at 4-1, 5-0, and now you've had Ocean View get defeated twice by Santa Ana this last week. Orange goes down when they were confident that they might be able to win and have that showdown with Santa Ana. Westminster's up there now, so that's also a league that there's a lot of moving parts going on right now.
Loera is a team in that league as well.
Loera is a team in the Golden West League.
They play football.
Yeah. They have some weapons, we're told.
Yes, I've been told.
But it's strange. So Orange, the other thing for Orange, their running back goes down too, and that's going to be a big thing for them going forward. But Orange thought they had him this time, and I talked with them earlier in the week for our weekly practice videos. Mm-hmm. They were dealing with the fires and stuff, but they seemed like they were ready. They seemed prepared and that they were ready to go. Didn't turn out that way.
No.
I know that's a tough one for Coach Pedroza and those boys to handle because they're stuck in Division 13 in the playoffs. And that's where all these things kind of come up. We don't talk about it too much because it's still a few weeks away, but Orange missed the playoffs last year because they were in not loaded, but there's a lot of teams in Division 13, so they kind of got squeezed out by the teams that automatically qualify ahead of them.
They have to beat Segerstrom and or Santa Ana to save themselves.
They definitely have to get a win in there to get themselves higher in the pecking order when it comes to playoff spots, because if they're 3rd or 4th place, it might be real tough to make it into the Division 13 spot. Another one that kind of was a huge surprise, Freeway League, pretty much the 2nd place game there. Fullerton defeated Sunny Hills.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, and Jung was held on the ground, 31 carries for 124 yards. 124 yards is still a lot, but for him that's a low number. And it just seems like maybe teams have figured out Sunny Hills, and the Fullertons turned the corner here, and they're on the up and up.
Fullerton played a top-notch non-league schedule. They played San Clemente opening their season, and they played Trabuco. And those are 2 South Coast League teams, and they hung with Trabuco pretty well. Gavin Klepper's a quarterback there. He's coming into his own. They're playing pretty well, and they might get second place in that freeway league.
Played pretty well. Didn't look the part. I get the want to celebrate the military with some camouflage uniforms with the red and white Fullerton camouflage against Sunny Hills' yellow jerseys.
Yeah. Not pretty.
Not a pretty one to look at. Interesting to look at, but maybe not the prettiest. But hey, a huge win for Fullerton because the tough schedule, and now assuming that they can ride things out, they'll be second place. La Habra is going to win that in a walk, of course.
Yes.
But they'll be second place. Sunny Hills should be third unless Fullerton slips up somewhere. But that was a huge one when it comes to playoff standings.
Yeah.
So those are leagues that have started. One league that does finally get going here are the North Hills and Crestview leagues in the Century Conference. Because of the way that thing is built, they only have 3 league games. We'll talk about the North Hills League in a couple weeks because you got some interesting teams. El Medina, who's lost to Canyon on the other side, and El Dorado, who you saw beat Canyon.
Yes.
So that'll be kind of weird because that's another thing that's a little bit of a mess right now.
That'll be weird later on. But this week, Yorba Linda and Canyon playing second place game in the Crestview League more than likely.
Right. Crestview League. Villa Park is going to run away with that thing.
They should.
We assume. We've seen some crazy things already, but you never know. We assume Villa Park, far and away the best team in that league. But yeah, Yorba Linda, CIF champion a year ago. They lost their quarterback halfway through the season to an injury. And I had thought, and many in our voting block kind of thought that might be a real big hit, and usually losing your quarterback is. And so we kind of knocked them down, waited for them to prove themselves. They're still winning despite losing that quarterback, and they're proving themselves to be still quite a contender.
And then Canyon, they're so up and down. I mean, Jacob Monroe threw the ball really well on Thursday against El Dorado, and Cole Niquette's a really good running back. They held him under 100 yards, though. So if those two guys aren't really proven, though, Canyon can struggle offensively. They need to run the ball really well to win this game against Yorba Linda.
Yeah, and with these 14 leagues, there's only 2 guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but playoff qualifying spots. And Villa Park, like we said, will take the 1. So this is essentially a playoff game for these two. Whoever wins this is likely going to get that automatic guaranteed spot.
Yeah, if you lose this one, you're kind of running uphill from there. So this is a really big game.
Yeah, and fourth place team in that league is going to be Foothill, which Doug Case and his group, they try really hard, but this is just a down year for them. And
it happens.
It happens. Public schools, you get talent cycles, and this is one of them. So athletes of the week from last week, we had some interesting variations. Where did you go for yours?
I'm giving love to the San Joaquin League. Jack Roberts, Cavanagh Valley Christian, 328 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns in their overtime win against Fairmont Prep. It's a first league win for them under Coach Curtis, so congratulations to the Eagles.
Yeah, big for them, and exciting one over Fairmont Prep. 2 county schools. People forget that, but they're county schools.
They play football in the San Joaquin League.
They do. They play some exciting up-tempo football, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Like you get some of those schools together, and it's a shootout.
Yeah.
Mine, I already mentioned him, Christian Jaime out of Westminster. Again, 257 total yards in that game, rushing and receiving. 3 touchdowns, including a late game winner to elevate them over Orange, which is just a huge game changer in that league.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this next week. It's kind of a light week when it comes to tough games, but we do have a few. Starting on Thursday, again in that Golden West League, Orange trying to bounce back from that loss against Westminster, taking on a tough physical Segerstrom defense. Segerstrom probably, from our gauge, looks like to be the second best team in that league.
Segerstrom started out their league play with Ocean View and Loera, kind of the two, not the best teams in that league. Now they got to play Orange, Santa Ana, Westminster, kind of all in a row. Let's see what they're made of.
Yeah, this is a gauntlet for Segerstrom. Again, they can prove themselves.
Yeah.
And Orange, if they can win this one, then they're right back into that picture. If they can knock off Santa Ana later, maybe create a 3-way tie at some point for a league title.
Yeah.
On Friday, normally, maybe on paper, you don't see this as an interesting one, but Capo Aliso in the Seaview League. The only reason to bring this up, because on paper you think Capo was going to run away with it. Capo has not won at Aliso since 2009. Kind of a weird situational thing.
This year, though, Capo, this team knows how to win. They've won a lot. They made that title game last year. The teams in the past were a little young, a little less experienced. This team is more experienced. I think they beat Aliso a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, Aliso, they've got a shot with the receivers, with Tyler Jones, right, that they have. But maybe some bad mojo down in that little valley.
Always weird games there too, like overtime stuff. Always weird.
Yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. And we talked about the Cypress Pacifica thing, and that makes this a little bit more important too. Valencia Tustin. Again, Valencia beat Cypress. Cypress beat Pacifica. Tustin, the lone undefeated team in that league now. This is huge in terms of determining where we go from here. Who is the next team that has to play the next team to kind of build up to that league title?
Valencia is 2-0 in the Empire League as well, but they haven't played Pacifica yet. They're playing Tustin this week, so real test coming for the Tigers. This is a really huge game. Casey Carr is going to run the ball a lot. It's not really a secret. We'll see if Valencia can stop it.
Yeah, Valencia has run the ball pretty well themselves. And like we mentioned last week, they're a team that they had a rough non-league schedule, but last year they came back from the dead and won that league. See if they can do it here again, make things a mess if they can win.
All their losses are to top 25 teams. Yeah. Eldorado in the top 25 now, so they're rolling. Maybe they can beat Tustin, and if they beat Tustin, then the driver's seat in that league for sure.
Yeah, another, like we said, with Valencia, they're one of those teams that the non-league truly is the preseason for them, and now they're ready for what they consider the regular season. That's all we got for now. Anything else that you think of?
Let us know in the comments on YouTube or tweet at us. I'm at Michael Huntley 63. He's at Zach Cav. What do you want to talk about next week? A lot of interesting leagues going on, so let us know what you want to talk about.
Yeah, plenty going on as more and more results come in and we figure out who's the top of the tops in their respective leagues. For everything you want in Orange County High School football, follow OCVarsity for all your needs and your results.